Vive la France!
Vive la France! We are in Paris! So excited to be here. Can't wait for the show tomorrow. Love you much. Bye-bye!
Doesn't make sense now. Shit just got real, things are getting intense now. I hear you talking about we a lot, oh you speak French now.
Welcome to Lights on Level. Now this is the show where Shana spotlight on the culture. Anyone that you should know or already know. Now superstars, it's Paris Fashion Week again. It's Coronation Day.
It's Coronation Day!
And this time, this year was very star-studded that we even had an alien sighting. This is the 2026, Spring-Summer Womenswear QN Shifa Shere.
That is spring-summer.
Okay.
September spring-summer.
But before we talk about that, let's talk about the South African fashion moment that is on everyone's lips. The collab between Richard Mnisi and Foschini, how are we feeling about that? Let me know in the comments, superstars, because I know that, when it comes to Richard Mnisi, people be saying, that he charges, both my 700 trillion.
Richard Mnisi, how Mubuka or the creative director for whatever editorial, 2 million. How about the trench coat from the Richard Mnisi collection, 2 million. How about the wrestling 2 million. How about the oh my god, I'm going to the saunas, can I have a dress? 2 million. So, like, what the white is about Richard Mnisi? What?
But do you think he's gonna charge reasonable this time? Do you think that it's gonna be fair since it's with Foschini? But let me know in the comments. And do you like it? Do you like what you saw so far? What we've been seeing so far. But let's get into Paris Fashion Week.
We have to see clothes. First of all, it's been a very bleak week so far. It's been bleak street over here in America. You know what? It's a famine of beauty. It's a famine of beauty. It's a famine of beauty, honey. My eyes are starving for beauty.
Now, one of the biggest stories for this season was the highly anticipated debut of two designers, Jonathan Anderson for Dior and Matthew Blazy for Chanel. They had eyes on them, could they match the legacy that these two fashion houses have built, over the years, And when we look at Jonathan Anderson, he, had like a collection of, modern romanticism and bold silhouettes, and, it earned him a standing ovation. But I saw the looks, I saw the pieces, I loved a few pieces, I didn't love, all the pieces, like I think I loved, I think I loved, less than, what I hated, not hated, hate is a strong word, but I disliked much more pieces than liked, but I did love, I loved the accessories, I loved the Chanel, those Chanel bags, not even one, like all those Chanel bags, I loved them, the shoes, especially those heels with the flower, those are really gorgeous, like the accessories of, that show, of that collection were, I need to be gifted some of those things. It's a need. But those were, my standout from, Jonathan Anderson's, collection. Other than that, I didn't really love, the whole collection as a whole, Now, over at Chanel, we had a setting of, the 8 planets in our solar system, and I really loved that setting, I really loved that whole aesthetic, but when it comes to his collection, I didn't really love his collection, but, the setting and the aesthetic, that was the standout for me, and actually this bag is a need. I need that bag, but, there wasn't much, for, the collection and everything, but, he tried, with, new textures, and it was a reinterpretation of, the tweed, and, trying to still honor, the Chanel legacy, but I just, it didn't, like speak out to me. Like the setting really spoke out to me, because you know what, if that alien was part of, Chanel, I would have said yes, but it's not. It's part of Tom Brown. But let's move on, because I still want to talk about Tom Brown later. So yeah. Now, it's Sarah Britain's first major season over at Givenchy, and she is carving her own lane, you know. She gave us a blend of structure and softness, and honestly, I loved everything about it. I loved the pieces, I loved the whole collection. Maybe not the whole collection, but I really loved, you know, the collection, and I even loved the piece that was on Jenna Ortega, you know. I really loved that, you know, and all Game of Thrones fans, you know, you'd love to know that Gwendolyn was actually graced us with a present. You know, I loved what I didn't love it, but you know, it's okay, it's decent. What she had on was decent, you know. But you know, she bodied her role on Game of Thrones, so I'ma forgive her, you know. I hated the ending though. I hated the Game of Thrones ending. Don't kill me, but I did. We also saw Naomi Campbell walk, you know, for Givenchy, you know, and honestly, that collection as a whole was, you know, beautiful, you know. So shout out to Sarah Burton, you know. But let's move on. Now that we've covered some of the debuts, I think we should talk about my least and most memorable houses, you know, and even throw in some honorable mentions, you know, on the way. But let's talk about my least favorite house, Jean Paul Gaultier. By Joanne Lentink. I don't know how to say it, but Jean Paul Gaultier was horrible. Horrible. I hated it. Maybe there was some, you know, decent pieces, you know, like it wasn't all bad, but I don't know, maybe, you know, call me, you know, not fashion forward and everything, but it was trash. It was horrible. It was horrible. I'm sorry, but it was horrible. I just didn't like whatever was going. I can't even describe whatever was going on. Like it was horrible. Now, my honorable mentions, you know, were Mugler, which made reference to Linda Evangelista's cameo in George Michael's Too Funky music video. And also Scaparelli, you know, Scaparelli even had, you know, Kendall Jenner walking the runway. Those were two houses that I actually loved, you know. I loved, you know, what they had on. Not, you know, my standout houses, but you know, they were, you know, I really loved what they were doing, you know, so shout out to them. But now let's get into my standout house, because that means, you know, that house, like they just gave me, like it called to me, like they gave it their all, you know, like they, you know, surpassed everyone, you know. They, like, I just feel like this house just, you know, made history for me today. Okay, not today, like that week, you know. They, you know, like just, you know, perfection. So my standout house was definitely Tom Brown, you know. They did so amazing, you know, like perfection. That whole collection, perfection. Down to the accessories, you know. When you can do, you know, a whole collection down to the accessories and everything, you've won my heart, you know. Like, I have no notes for them, because, you know, like what they did is truly amazing. Amazing work from the designer as a whole, you know, and the whole team, you know, not just the designer, but everyone who worked that collection, you know. Shout out to them. They, you know, it's actually, you know, it's good when you don't even know, you know, if this is a top, or if, you know, it's body paint, you know, but you know, it's tops, you know. But it's so amazing that they look like body paint. Like, that's how amazing it is, you know. So that's just a standout house to me. They won that runway. Even the alien superstar, you know, that is, you know, part of the collection. The alien, you know, the alien. Shout out to you, alien superstar. But you know, superstars, that is it for, you know, the runway section. Not the runway section, but that is it for the designers, you know. Now we are gonna get into the stars, you know, and who was at the front row and the who's of the world, you know. But before we do that, I wanna, you know, say, you know, that if you wanna, you know, read on more, you know, I hope that you please read on the Forbes 12 to watch, you know. They are talking about the emerging, you know, designers to watch. So I think you should check that out, you know. But let's get into the front row. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, made an appearance, you know, attending the Balenciaga show to support a friend, you know, as the new creative director of Balenciaga, you know. And she was sporting, you know, this all white outfit, you know. And I just feel like it was very, you know, firstly, it's timeless, because, you know, it's classic, you know, it's beautiful, you know, it's plain a bit. It's plain. It's plain. I'll give it that. It's plain, but it's also beautiful still, you know. And then she did also change into this black outfit, which is also, I think I love the black more than the white, you know. I really love the black. But it seems like, hey, now this is hot topics now. But it seems like there might be trouble in paradise allegedly, you know, for the couple, you know, because they were spotted at a red carpet, and it just seemed like Prince Harry was being called towards her. We don't know. She did, post him to, a tribute or whatever, on social media. So we don't know if, there's really trouble in paradise, or maybe, he just didn't, notice, he wasn't aware, that she was looking at him. But, we'll see as the time goes. Nicole Kidman made her first big fashion appearance almost a week after filing for divorce from her husband, Keith Urban. And she was accompanied by her two daughters, one of which walked the Dior runway, Sunday Rose. But let's get into my Benoni twin, Charlize Theron, she was wearing, this oversized blazer and pants combo, and I didn't love this look, I loved the accessories and all, but I just felt like the pants were just a little too big for her, like they just needed a little bit more tailoring, oversized clothes can be, a make or break, and this time those pants broke the outfit, but let's also get into, her snubbing Johnny Depp, like she was like, I am not going to be saying hi to you. She pulled a Tiffany New York.
All right then. What? Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Not you. You can choke. This was the first.
I guess we know which side she's on. But let's get into Margot Robbie, she was there also. And I just feel like that outfit is just too casual. It's beautiful. Not beautiful. I like it. Like, I really love that outfit. But I just feel like it's for, when you're out there being sporty, or, to the mall or somewhere, like it's just too casual for my, like, it's not for Paris Fashion Week. Same as Anne Hathaway, those outfits were too casual. Those outfits were too casual. Now, Jaden Smith, I don't know what you were going for, I see the Christian Louboutin, image. I see what you're trying to give, but it really wasn't giving. It even sparked some memes, that outfit as a whole, it was a no. Like the red painting and everything, the loose, like, your pants don't fit you when you have to hold on to them. Like, he's holding on to them, they're not even, like at least baggy. He's holding on to them for dear life. Now, Put Lovato struck again. You guys bullied Demi Lovato into locking in when, cameras are around, She was dressed in this, bodysuit thing, and I really didn't like it. I actually like it. I just don't think it's for Paris Fashion Week, This is Fashion Week, Give me something. Give me big, dramatic. Give me... I don't know what, here I am, I brought, some 80s shoulder pads things, I'm bringing the 80s back like Doja Cat, Shout out to Doja. But she was seen sitting next to Kim Petras and Jenna Ortega, and we gotta talk about Jenna Ortega because, she was seen, limping. I don't know if it's limping or whatever, but her walk looked brutal, her walk looked brutal, I don't know what was up, maybe the shoes were too tight, or they didn't fit her, or, something was up with that walk, but yes. Now, two stars debuted new hairdos, Kim Kardashian gave, Kris Jenner realness, and she looked absolutely gorgeous, I really loved that hairstyle on her, and we also had Ice Spice, giving Strawberry Duck, with the pink hairdo, she also looked gorgeous, maybe this, might be, a new era for her, we hope so, we hope Ice will give us something other than, the ginger hair, But also, Janet Jackson was seen, at Paris Fashion Week, and she was with Paris, not Paris Hilton, but her niece, Paris Jackson, and there was such a cute moment, between them, family, But yes, let's talk about the SA stars that were there, let's get into South Africa, my love, we saw, Pupo Kumete, and I didn't like it. I hate I hated it. I'm sorry. I hate. I hated it when Tiana Taylor did it. I hated it when Sarah Langer did it. And I also hated when McQueen did it at Paris Fashion Week. Yes, they did it. They did it right now, yeah, that show. Hey guys. I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I even hated it when Nicki Minaj did it. Sorry, Nicki, but that Cinderella look, horrible. But yes, we had Pupu Kumete, at Paris Fashion Week as well as Sarah Langa. We also had, Makosa, they debuted their Isipo Sabadala collection, which also had Yvonne Chaka Chaka, appearing. Now even Pro Tusi was there, and I really also didn't like her outfit much. I didn't like it. Now, anyway, superstars, that was all from, this year's showcase of Paris Fashion Week, it was a bit chaotic, many of the houses, they didn't really give, but some did. Thank you, Tom Brown, for, showing them what you are all about, Mwah. Thank you for being my standard house this year. But let's now get into, my next video. Yes, I did say, that, I'm gonna drop 2 videos and not 1, so we're gonna get into hot topics, right now. So let's get into it.